I wanted to play Overwatch 2, and in my brain I was like, you know what? Once they release the PvE, I'll get into Overwatch 2. Well, that's not happening. So let's see what they have to say why Jeff Kaplan quit, because that was definitely a turning point.
What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for Your Overwatch.
I thought that was what he looked like. I was like, why does he look like Jeff Kaplan? All right,
A
we're good.
YouTuber friend of mine, Sir Swag, released a video where he outlines quotes from an anonymous source that he has from Blizzard Entertainment. A
All right, anonymous sources, always got to take those with a grain of salt. You never know.
developer that knows the inner workings of what was going wrong on Team 4, the dev team that was working on Overwatch 2 and the now canceled PvE. I
Yeah.
reached out to Sir Swag as a precaution to say, hey, bro, is this legit? Yes, it sure is.
Is it though? Like, he's again, grain of salt. Grain of
He
salt.
has my confidence and trust. We'll break down the details of the leak, and as well, I think this illuminates a lot of the growing story arc of Jeff Kaplan leaving and the inner turmoil with the company.
Okay, I'm really curious to see what else happened behind the scenes. But that's one thing that really annoyed me. They have all this footage of the PvE mode from years ago. What the fuck have they been doing for the past couple of years? It's just this is like the biggest scumbag thing that I've seen a game like publisher do in a long time. And that's saying a lot for Blizzard.
Anonymous source says the cancellation was 1000% an upper management executive issue. It was all about profit margins.
Of course it was.
They were looking at a game like Diablo Immortal, which was making $2 million a day.
I hate it so much, dude. This is why it pisses me off when there are those people who drop like 100 grand on a fucking game, man. Ugh.
And that changed the expectations for the suits. The
course it
PvE
did.
was looked at as increasingly irrelevant and not going to earn money in the long term. Keep in mind that just the live service multiplayer game that they already had all of a sudden turned on a new revenue stream.
They don't have. All right, I'm gonna go on a really big spiel here for a while. Okay, it's 100% false advertising. I was talking about this yesterday, I think, with you guys, with somebody. I don't remember. Or I don't know. I've been talking about it a lot the past few days with people. But when they released the Overwatch 2, I guess early access PvP, I could have sworn that they sold bundles that allowed access to the future PvE content. I could be wrong. I haven't looked that up to clarify. I could have sworn they existed though. But even if they didn't, there are people there who have played this game, who have bought stuff in game with the mindset that, oh, hey, there's going to be a PvE mode in the future. Even if I don't play the PvP a lot now, I can use the stuff that I'm buying now, the cosmetics and everything, in the PvE mode when that comes out. Guarantee you there are a lot of people who thought that way. Now there's no PvE. I don't think anything will happen, but deep down I really hope that they get hit with a lawsuit for this, because that is really piss poor management, or just piss poor business sense. And all that they're thinking about is the short term effects of this. And this is what a lot of these just companies in general, which always annoys the hell out of me, they only think short term. They never think long term for anything ever. And that's why they fail. They're looking at that Overwatch PvP that right now. They're like, oh, this is profitable. Yeah, because it hasn't been out for a year yet. People still play it. It hasn't completely died off yet because you guys didn't kill it. And people are excited for PvE modes. And they're like, oh, let's just cut the PvE mode to make more money. One, what about all the money you've already sunk into the PvE mode? That's a huge loss already. Why not finish it? And at least, make some profit off of it, because you're going to sell it as a game mode when it releases anyway. And two, okay, so you're going to have this revenue coming in maybe in the next couple of quarters, maybe until the end of the year for Overwatch 2 PvP with the battle passes and skins and everything. But what about when that falls off? It's not going to hold up forever, especially with their track record with Overwatch 1, because they just let that game die. For Overwatch 2 and its PvE mode, they just let Overwatch 1 just die. They didn't update that at all or care about it. And player confidence in them is not that good. Not even thinking about the whole, plethora of scandals that they have. I still can't get the whole breast milk thing out of my brain. That's always stuck there forever. But not even thinking that, thinking just from a purely business standpoint here, they're really not thinking long term, and the people who are running Blizzard are dumb as shit. They should all be fired and replaced. Like I swear, I've been in business long enough where I know how it goes. I know that you can't think short term for stuff, man. You got to think long term. Like, how is what we're going to do today? How will this affect us in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years down the road? Nobody's thinking that. They're just thinking the short term profit margins. Fuck them. They'll get with it, whatever happens. It's on them. I guarantee you they will try to announce an Overwatch 3 and be like, hey guys, you want to know what we've never done in Overwatch before? A PvE mode. It's going to be in Overwatch 3. It's going to be $70 when it releases, and you can buy battle passes for it once it releases out too. And we're going to shut down the servers for Overwatch 2, so if you spent money on that, fuck you, friends. Alright, rant over. Let's actually continue this video. Like I said, I haven't even played Overwatch 2, but this just pisses me off a lot.
By adding
Let's
a battle pass and cosmetics. So
you know what, Naz, you're right. You're right. My mistake. They'll also have a $150 version of Overwatch 3, which you can pre-order, which gets you a free NFT. Good point.
You can see why higher executives would look at that and say,
Yep.
why do we want to invest in making this big, complicated, expensive game when we can make money in easier ways?
Yep.
So these claims stand to reason
Dumbasses.
to me, but it gets worse. During the pandemic, there was slowed production, and as progress
Right.
got worse and they struggled to meet deadlines, there began a vicious cycle that was doomed to fail. The league talks about talent leaving or getting reorganized to other projects, but also keep in mind that there was the lawsuit, which maybe some employees left due to protest, but as the production got worse, they actually pulled resources from the team, which was a doomed to fail strategy.
Of course. Now, if I remember correctly, Jeff Kaplan left in 2019. I believe. Let me actually look this up, and this it'll just fix my brain. When did Jeff Kaplan leave Blizzard? Oh, that's right. Okay, because Blizzard had their lawsuit in 2021. That's right. That's right. Okay. In my brain, I thought Blizzard's whole like lawsuit and everything happened in 2020, but it was 2021 that happened. Okay, because I knew Jeff left before then, because I was like, oh, that dude was smart. He got out before shit hit the fan. That makes sense. Okay, so it was early 2021 that he left. He was there longer than I thought. And the $150 one don't include a copy of the game. Yep. Just like they did with that Diablo 4 special edition.
And a little bit at odds because the team is always
So
publicly
dumb.
talking about how they've expanded the team, doubled
Right.
the size of the team.
No,
But
they haven't.
offense, when they bring on some of the new developers, they
Dropping
are
stuff.
often quite young. And no offense to young people, but a lot
No.
of the best devs and the seasoned veterans, the ones that usually
Yeah,
have
they have
enough
expertise.
experience or knowledge, well, those are beginning to get thin, as many of them have left to other companies. So the
Smart.
anonymous source speaks quite contrary to a lot of the public messaging that we're getting from Blizzard. If you pay close attention, multiple Blizzard devs in the chats, live streams, BlizzCon Line, the blog posts say how they've doubled the size of the team, increased way bigger than they've ever been before.
Well, they did. They gutted the team at first to like 10 people, and then they brought on board 10 more people, so they technically did double it just after getting rid of 90% of the workers. But they technically doubled it.
But at
That's
the same time, they're admitting publicly as well that the workload they
so
had
bad.
was too much. It really sucks that the developers have to be themselves the marketing mouthpiece for the game as well. So they sort of have to tell the lies that Bobby Kotick would want them to tell. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that would reportedly write verbatim the responses that his figureheads would say in response to the lawsuits. So you really have to be careful absorbing any of the PR speak from anyone at Blizzard as if it's them speaking themselves. No. They're speaking for Bobby. So they
This is true. I would not put that past him. That guy is a freak show and a monster. And when I'm like ranting about this, game devs are fantastic and amazing. It's not on them. It's on the fucking higher ups who like push them to the brink. Like Cyberpunk does the same thing. It's like, why? And it just sucks, man. Like everybody's getting overworked and it really sucks.
Talk about the team size expanding, but does that mean part-time work? Does that mean the commissioned artists that they have to churn out the skins content for the game that you
To be fair, they wouldn't hire part-timers. They would just hire contractors that would, only work for like 3 months or so.
you have to imagine they pay less than a full-time employee? You're not really going to pin them down on any logically congruent storyline because somehow they both want us to believe that the team is massive, big, and capable, but also they have to apologize for canceling the massive, big project that they had and instead transferring all their energy to something that is lower on production cost and a higher return on investment, as opposed to making a wonderful game that will build the franchise's IP strength overall. No, Bobby doesn't like that.
Again, not thinking long-term. Like, shit, if they made a good PvE mode for Overwatch, what could that turn into? Like, the whole world of Overwatch is great. If they made a good PvE mode for it with a good story and, like, good progression and everything, they could have eventually spun it off. It could have made a series. It could have gotten an animated series on Netflix. Like, hell, the freaking Arcane did amazing. Like, Overwatch is a perfect world for, like, an animated series like that. Would be great. 2, could also spin off into other games, other types of games, maybe like an RTS game, hell, even like a story game, just anything. But no, their focus is just on the money they're making off the PvP right now from the cash shop.
He likes profit margins.
That's all.
Small investment, big payoff. Instead of a bigger investment and also a big payoff. No. The amount of profit is all that matters. Another
exactly.
contradiction
God, it's
from the
pissing me off so
leak,
much.
they said a lot of the developers left when the work from home policy was enacted, meaning that employees had to actually live near the Blizzard campus where it's very expensive. This is directly in contrary to Jared Ness, who says the opposite publicly. But again, I feel like this is a case.
Wait, I'm confused.
Employees had to actually live near the Blizzard. No. The amount of profit is all that matters. Another contradiction.
I think I'm hearing
from
this
the
wrong.
Anonymous leak. They said a lot of the developers left when the work from home policy was enacted.
I think what he's trying to say is a lot of people left when the work from home policy was changed, where people couldn't work from home. I think that's what he's trying to say, because he said a lot of people left when it was enacted. I don't think a lot of people would leave when they're being able to work from home. I think he's trying to say when it was like, redacted and changed where people can't work from home anymore and they have to move to Blizzard HQ, after they hired people across the country telling them they didn't have to work in the office, they could just work remotely. And now they're losing all that talent as well, because who the hell wants to go in the office all the time? You don't have to do that. Might have meant to alter it to that you have to live closer to HQ. Yeah, something along those lines.
Meaning that employees had to actually live near the Blizzard campus.
Yeah, because they have to go on site
very
now.
Expensive. This is directly in contrary.
All right, so I did want to read this one too. I've seen speculation that the changes of PvE scope on Overwatch 2 are related to Blizzard's RTO policy. Okay, yep. So I've seen RTO, that's a return to office policy. For record, that isn't true. Managing PvE and PvP development simultaneously has been a challenge for the team for years. It's a less exciting headline, but it's reality. I can guarantee you that's false. Like, just for me, if I was told that I could work remotely, even if it's, just not even a full week, if it's like 3 or 4 days a week or something, and then I'm told I have to go into the office, that's a pay cut. That is absolutely 100% a pay cut, especially where they are, because you have traffic, you have tolls, spending money on gas, on car maintenance. With traffic and everything there, I guarantee you people about an hour in, an hour back home, that's 2 hours of their day that's gone. They're not getting paid for that. So it's ridiculous. And yeah, exactly. They don't need to spend time on PvP development. It's already there. Like, what are you going to do? Add another, skin? Like, that's what they're doing. They're just making skins. That's all. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so poorly managed. It blows my mind.
To Jared Ness, who says the opposite publicly. But again, I feel like this is a case where Blizzard's PR speak tries to have it both ways.
Exactly.
Did people quit because of the work from home? If they did, that would ultimately have a significant effect on your productivity, no? And if the team is big and capable, well, where's the product for it? It really
Yep.
sucks to have
Facts.
these developers speak on the behalf of the company and feed us these lies that just don't add up. But ultimately, we know who to blame. It should have been no surprise to anyone. The anonymous source goes on to say something that I think we all know, is that the devs really just did the best with what they were given. And as they've said publicly, developing the talent trees for every single hero in the game was an insane proposition.
How is that an insane proposition? It's a PvE mode, dude. Just let PvP be its own thing. You don't need the talent trees in PvP. Just make the talent trees for PvE. It's not that bad. Alright, you have Tracer, for example. Tracer, speed, guns, whatever. Do a talent tree. You can either go down a path of faster, where damage gets lower, or go down another path where there's higher damage, but her speed gets down a little bit. Maybe she can do less dashes or something like that. Or go for like just some other random one that's a bit more balanced. Maybe, you know, get some explosives or something. I don't know. It's not that fucking difficult. Like, am I wrong in thinking that? Or like, you know, you're right. You're right. It is a small indie company. My mistake. They really need to just hire more people. Clearly. Clearly.
I almost wonder if they would have been better off just like taking 8 heroes or so and making that game.
All right, so just this is an example, and this is what they've had for years already. Like, they've had this since like 2019. So, you know, they've got what, Commander, Rifleman, Vigilante. So it looks like Commander, I'm guessing, you know, has perks to like, you know, buff your team and stuff like that. Rifleman, I'm sure is just like the main pure DPS class. And then Vigilante. Vigilante looks like probably a lot of self-heal. Damage dealt during tactical visor. Okay, so that's damage dealt during that. Okay. Like they have it all already figured out. Like just put the talent trees together and then try to balance stuff out from there. You know, game test, play test it.
Game first just with them, because from Reddit responses from the devs, they've told us that it was easier to design a brand new hero for PvP than to do the skill trees, which had all these different options for PvE.
Of course it is. Of course it's going to be easier to make a new character. You don't have to really... Okay, here's a PvP character. Here's their 3 abilities they have. Have fun. Go nuts. The only thing that they mainly do with the PvP characters, which bothers me, every single time there's an issue with Blizzard. Like, I forgot when it was last time, but like they had yeah, one of the many scandals they have. Like a few days after that happened, they're like, oh, hey, we're releasing this Overwatch character who's, you know, in the LGBTQ community. See, we're good people. They use that as their out, and I hate it. It's not like they had a team working on something that would have had a skill tree. Oh, yeah, they never do that in any other games. You know, it's not like they have Diablo to use it as an example or anything like that. Or those talent trees look exactly like the talent trees in World of Warcraft. It's not that difficult to make them, man.
Even though it doesn't have to be as balanced. Somewhere between 30 and 50 talents for each hero in the game. That's an insane amount of content, especially when you think of like an action RPG. I'm thinking Diablo, Borderlands 3. There's only a handful of characters in the game, and then they span off into a few skill trees, but it's not so much more than the amount that they're saying there. If they did try to do that game, it would have been the biggest action RPG type game of all time.
Yeah,
so it's really
and it would have been great.
Heartbreaking to see them not be given the resources to make that game of the decade that it...
Every single time some companies like, we're going to release the game of the decade, it's whenever I hear that, my expectations for that game drop minuscule.
It could have been, but it makes sense when you think to the way that Activision Blizzard King runs all of their IP.
You know, I haven't played Overwatch in years. I can guarantee you it wouldn't take me that long to sit and make a talent tree for each character. At least out of the ones that I know. But it's like, come on,
Candy
man.
Crush, Call of Duty, they want Overwatch to be like that, and it needs to be a different game if they wanted to make a real game instead of a cash flip with a low investment requirement and high return on investment, aka milking out IPs and giving the least amount of product for the most amount of money.
Yep, looking at you, Diablo Immortal, you son of a bitch. Yeah, they shockingly do
It's a
run
really
their IPs.
unfortunate business strategy because if you look at a game like World of Warcraft, which is just outrageously massive, Overwatch 2 could have been the next thing. It could have reached towards the MMO aspirations that Aaron Keller talked about in the dev blog in my previous video. It could have
Could have.
reached that size of game. But at the moment, the best thing we're going to get is like a full campaign in like years of time, which I suppose is better than nothing, but it's nowhere near the artistic vision of what these devs wanted to do. And that's where I want to transition to talk about Jeff Kaplan, where it's blatantly obvious now that he was not signing up for any more of this ATVIBS.
Activision Battle Syndrome. Love it. Yeah, Jeff Kaplan was a good dude. He's one of the good ones. 100%. He probably dipped and he's like, fuck you guys. I'm out. I'm not doing your ridiculousness. Someone who wants to go into the game industry, you think games that just come in with, oh, let's just make a little fun thing, consistently make better games than companies that cover and claiming. Exactly. Like, we're going to make the best thing ever, blah, blah, blah. You can't put expectations that high, man. Just make something that's fun for people to play. If you make a fun game, people are going to give you money for that game. Like, I was watching something. I was watching one of Asmongold's videos earlier, and he put it perfect words where it's like, if people have a good game that they enjoy, they're not going to complain about spending money for it at all. Like, look at Fortnite. People don't really complain about spending money on Fortnite. Final Fantasy 14, nobody ever complains about the cash shop in 14 ever because it's a good game. All of Blizzard's games, people complain about the cash shops because they're mostly shit. But it's just like, just make a good game, and then go from there. That's all you got to do. Hell, Destiny 2, they've had a cash shop for forever. People were a bit iffy with it at first, but honestly, Destiny 2 is a good game. So people don't complain about it all the time. They just enjoy the game. Halo Infinite. We'll just say Halo Infinite. That's all.
And while you guys know I had a lot of philosophical differences with Jeff over the years, I'll be straight up, the guy just did not like me at all. I was a thorn in his side for years, but I always respected the man's integrity and artistic vision and very unique route to arriving to a competitive multiplayer game that was unlike any other. Because
Exactly.
Jeff worked on the WoW team for so many years.
I loved the year that he did this. It literally was him just sitting eating cookies in front of a fire for like a Christmas Yule log video. It was fantastic and I loved it. Mind you, think that typically games that end up being rated like 7 out of 10 or better than 10 out of 10 rated games not appeal to every single person. They have character and enjoy it. True. That's why like a lot of indie games do so well. Look at Hades, Stray, just out of recent memory. Hollow Knight. All of those, they're like smaller games that have done massively well that aren't AAA games. So
And as
I don't know,
Aaron
man.
Keller said in his blog post, the team were WoW devs. They thought of things in more of the magical player immersion point of view, whereas other competitive titles, let's say Valorant, are all about the competition every step of the way, which does have its benefits, I will admit, but you can see the weaknesses clear as day. The characters are less defined. They often aren't as imaginative or intuitive. So over the years, I had to grow a level of respect for the alternate route that guys like Jeff Kaplan or the now former lead hero designer Jeff Goodman would take to design. They look to maximize the fun first and worry about the competitive viability later. It gave us the GOATS meta we were trapped in, but it also gave us 2016's Game of the Year. So
True. Very true. It was like 2016 to like 2019 was when I was playing that game a lot. And I was like big into it.
I tend to take the good with the bad. Now let's look back to quotes from the 2019 announcement of Overwatch 2. Keep in mind that many of us believe that this was pushed out the door because Bobby Kotick wanted to change the news cycle surrounding BlizzCon with growing controversy over the Blitzchung incident. So they had to come out with the big announcement then.
That's right. I always forget about that. I always forget about that issue before the other issues happened, when they literally fired that dude for talking about like free Hong Kong and stuff.
even though it's pretty clear in hindsight they weren't really ready to do so.
Yeah.
On stage, Jeff explained the endlessly replayable missions that they called hero missions, and he said it's what adventure mode is to Diablo. It was aimed to have a progression system with custom abilities and talents. Then he went on to explain that they wanted to redefine the sequel, and this is where I always thought it was very tone deaf to speak this way, because while Jeff was trapped at Activision Blizzard, where they're used to sequel churn like Call of Duty coming out every year, losing all of the progress, cosmetics, and everything to play a different game year on year, the rest of the industry had already changed to free to play. In 2019, Fortnite was the biggest game in the world, and at the start of that year, Apex Legends launched.
Yep. If you guys been following me for a bit, well, I don't know if any of you guys were actually around when I was big in Apex. I played the shit out of Apex Legends. It was great. It was a good game. And I kind of like fell off. I'm sure it's still good nowadays, but I just, not into it. But it was free. And they had a cash shop, but the game was good. So nobody complained.
So we had 2 games destroying Overwatch at the same time, which were free to play and had all of the benefits Jeff was talking about for the sequel already free in the game. So Jeff wanted his sequel to bring all of the old players along with, so you could keep all your cosmetics and you'd still be able to play with the new players in Overwatch 2. We never really got the full explanation of what that meant because it didn't make any sense, but over the years we were able to stitch it together, and what it was going to be is that the PvP would just get updated and the PvE would be an entirely separate Diablo game.
Exactly what people thought. It's almost like a good game brings in money. Wow, that's a hot take, Ashley. A good game bringing in money? Mind-blowing.
With its own campaign and end game. And you would pay for that new experience, but you could also just stick to PvP if you wanted.
Which would be perfect.
Separate. That was always a competitive disadvantage, though, because at Activision Blizzard, they were a bit in a bubble with the box product model being so profitable for them. The writing was on the wall even at that point. If the rest of the industry was on the box product model, then yeah, that would have been revolutionary. But with so many free-to-play games already robbing attention from Overwatch, that was going to be doomed to fail.
That's why I said almost you don't want to get canceled. Fair. But like they could have made it work though, man. They could have really made it work. Like just have the PvP like they did with Halo Infinite. Have the PvP it's separate thing, have it be for free, which that's great. When Halo Infinite came out, it was fantastic. They just let the multiplayer die. They let that game die cuz they suck. But it was cool. The cash shop sucked, but it was free. And then they had a killer, like, I loved the single player for Halo Infinite. That was really fun. But they just let the multiplayer die. But they could have done that. Have, like, the multiplayer come out, just be its own thing, free to play, have, a cash shop. I'm glad they got rid of loot boxes. Like, it'd be cool if they still had, like, earnable loot boxes in-game. Not, pay for loot boxes, but, like, earn whatever in-game. And then had, like, a battle pass and a cash shop. That's fine. Have that separate, and then have the PvE mode.
And think about this from Jeff Kaplan's
Blown my
point
mind.
of view. He gets to be the scapegoat that goes on stage to overpromise this massive game that they're trying to make. That Aaron Keller cleared up on how audacious the vision of this was. That not only did Jeff want that, each hero having 30 to 50 talents in a PvE endlessly replayable Diablo game. Behind the scenes, they wanted another higher, bigger game, a MMO game over that after they made Overwatch 2. That's what Overwatch 3 was going to be.
If I remember correctly, wasn't Blizzard working on like a space MMO game? I'm not gonna spend time to look this up but if I remember correctly, this is like back in early 2010s or something. Blizzard was apparently working on another MMO game, but that got canceled and turned into Overwatch. So now you're telling me their mindset was for Overwatch 3 to go back to that idea and make another MMORPG that would then compete with their biggest MP or IP at the time, WoW, in the MMO market. Just a little silence there to think about that. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
So at some point in the company, based on the leaks that we know from Sir Swag, they're looking at the numbers of all of this and how Jeff wants to scale this up, and I'm assuming a suit said no. In fact, I'll give you less resources. Good luck doing whatever you want. It always felt odd to me because Jeff Kaplan was vice president of Blizzard Entertainment, but I think as the coverage of the lawsuit and everything has gone on, we all know that there's really just one king at Activision Blizzard. It's Bobby. Every other...
Don't insult Bobby Hill, please. Don't insult that pure soul with Bobby Kotick. They're wanting to kill WoW for Overwatch. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. Like, if they tried to just, like, kill WoW and just build up Overwatch as, like, their new MMO, I wouldn't put it past them. I don't foresee them doing anything. It's not like they talk about a WoW 2 ever. So, which is desperately what that game needs, honestly. Like, they just need to kill the original WoW and make a World of Warcraft 2.
Position of leadership just seems to be a token. And hey, I mean, vice president was already probably a token position, but it felt strange that he couldn't have more pull to get what he wanted. But adding everything up now in hindsight, I think Jeff was looking down the barrel of the change of strategy that was being pushed onto him from top down, seeing everything that he wanted to build be reduced to rubble. And Jeff has to sit there and think, does he want to have to come out again and give this massive apology that he shouldn't have to make? I don't think Jeff would have wanted to lie to us and say that PvE is coming and then months later down the line explain that it's in this diminished capacity.
Exactly. Like, Jeff Kaplan's one of the good ones. Like, he definitely was, he was a good dude. Yeah, everybody's got, again, this is one thing that bugs me all the time where people are like, oh, well, he might have done bad things like 20 years ago. People do bad things all the fucking time. Like, I did bad shit decades ago. You did bad shit decades ago. Everybody fucks up at some point, but you learn from it and you move on. It's how you grow as a person. He's a good dude. So I always respected him. He did a great job with Overwatch and everything was great. So it was very smart of him to leave.
After he had just years ago on stage promised the world.
Yeah.
I can see why he'd want to leave for that. Let someone else have to tell those lies. He was not going to walk the plank.
Exactly.
While I have been on board for the free-to-play change, expensive cosmetics, I don't mind paying a battle pass because I like the content I get in it. I enjoy it more than loot boxes. I like the seasonal model. I like the update cycle we have.
Yeah.
I even will probably like the campaign. So it's not even really necessarily any of these decisions that I hate. Because I never needed a Diablo game for Overwatch because Diablo 4 was coming anyway. I like Diablo 4. I'll play Diablo 4 for Diablo. The thing that I can't stand is the bait and switch, is the lying, is the thought that maybe I bought more skins thinking they were still making that big game that they did not tell us they have canceled.
What did we just say earlier? People would have bought things, skins, cosmetics, thinking they could use it in PvE.
They knew they canceled it before they even launched Overwatch 2. They flew creators out like myself to show us all the amazing things they were doing for PvP. And when we kept nagging them, especially me, by the way, the most annoying of any of the creators, asking the hardest questions behind the scenes always, with only a few other of my peers that even come close to how much I hold Blizzard's feet to the fire, we kept nagging about PvE, and we never got a response. I don't think I've ever used a cuss word on this channel. Fuck you, Blizzard. Fuck you. Fuck.
Good. Also, I really don't curse that often in my videos. I think this is one of the videos I've cursed the most in because this actually does piss me off.
You for lying to my face and to all of our other creators, getting us on board with a strategy that you were not disclosing fully the changes and downgrades you were making. I am never trusting another thing you say ever again because I will have to admit,
also true.
I was lured by the personality and goodwill from the people who are working on the front lines, but fooled into believing that they speak genuinely. They often do, but they also speak PR speak for Bobby Kotick like everyone else does at that company, and you can't expect anything more from that. I am
unfortunate but true.
Irate about how we as the entire community have been treated by Bobby Kotick. It's been his fault the entire way through, and the leaks just keep compounding. If you remember leaks from a while ago from an associate producer that went to Riot Games saying that Bobby Kotick would come down after telling the dev team to work on one big direction and switch gears entirely, ruining progress.
Of course, because he's an idiot.
We have leaks saying that they would cut resources and make the project doomed to fail by having ridiculous expectations funded by starvation resource tactics. I'll end this rant today by reminding you Jeff Kaplan's final response before leaving the company. written almost as if it was on a napkin in lowercase. Jeff's
True.
final personal note, he says, I'm
True.
leaving Blizzard Entertainment after 19 amazing years.
I forgot that he didn't even like capitalize everything.
It was truly the honor of a lifetime to have the opportunity to create worlds and heroes for such a passionate audience. I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone at Blizzard who supported our games, our game teams, and our players. But I want to say a special thanks to the wonderful game developers that shared in the journey of creation with me. Never accept the world as it appears to be. Always dare to see it for what it could be. I hope you do the same. GG, Jeffrey Kaplan. And
Good words. Especially that last line. Very good words. Man, I really like Jeffy Kaplan.
of course,
Jeffy K was
a
good.
notable exemption here. The silence on certain aspects of the company is deafening, supporting his developers as he always did, and very clearly throwing shade at the suits that sabotaged his dream project, so much so that he was willing to leave it.
Yep.
After being one of the longest running developers at the company, who helped build the skyrocketing World of Warcraft and transitioned into another team to work on Project Titan, which eventually transformed into Overwatch.
All right, so I was right. I was thinking it was Project Titan that turned into Overwatch. Okay, that was their like big. I don't know if it was specifically an MMO, but it was some big old online game.
And I can't help but imagine if Bobby Kotick was willing to pay himself less and the talented people making the things that make him all that money more, if
I'm sorry, I got left. The thought of Bobby Kotick actually caring about other people and paying himself less is laughable.
we could have just had
Amazing.
more wonderful things. Overwatch 1 was a beacon of hope in the game industry when there was a
It
lot
was.
of also rand type shooter games out. Overwatch 2 was supposed to be the walk, as Aaron Keller describes it. Instead, as
Yep.
we know, that vision will never be realized at this pace, at the level of commitment that Bobby Kotick is willing to give this dev team. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get
Facts.
notified when our videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.
That video was amazing, wonderful, great job. I think that was I either haven't watched anything from Your Overwatch in years, which I probably have in the past watched stuff, but that was a great video. Again, nothing is set in stone from what people, whose contacts have said, but still, we can kind of see from behind the scenes. We can kind of tell what happened. Again, Bobby, Jesus Christ, no, not Bobby, Jeff Kaplan, amazing human being. He definitely saw the writing on the walls and was like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I'm out. Like, you guys are going to run this game to the ground, which they probably will, unless they do something massive. I can also guarantee you they're going to try to announce a new character who's like LGBTQ or something like that in the coming weeks to, kind of put a band-aid on them ditching the PvE mode, because that's what they always do. Or they'll change another character's name pointlessly. Who knows? But we'll see. I got a lot to talk about this stuff. Again, I haven't played Overwatch for so long, but it pisses me off what they did to Overwatch 2, because I was still looking forward to that PvE mode. It would have been fun.